Hello and welcome back everyone to the video series The Geek Show on MTV that knows the difference between a tree and a goose. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge Season 41 Vets and New Threats Episode 10. We got trivia, we got Stairmasters, we got ball launchers, we got it all. Realistically, this was a very straightforward episode of the challenge, so I see no reason wasting any more time on this intro, and let's just jump in where this episode starts, because we didn't leave off on an elimination. We got the permanent partners at the lock-in, and now everybody's coming back to the challenge house, and some pairs are happy, like Sydney and Turbo, or Michaela and Cedric. And then you have other pairs who are iffy on each other, like Olivia and Will, who don't really know each other, and Johnny and Gabe, who are not gelling whatsoever. And then you have some people that are just surprised to be partnered with who they are partnered with, like Theo and Adrian. Theo had no idea that Adrian was going to pick him, and being two people from the same alliance together and being two UK members, you have the Upstairs Alliance calling them a 2-for-1 special and kind of foaming at the mouth to send them in as soon as possible, which is foreshadowing for later. Now, there's not a whole lot that happens in the house prior to the daily challenge, so let's just get to where everybody dons their challenge gear, heads down to meet up with TJ for this week's challenge. It is not only Heights Over Water, but it is the trivia challenge called Fast Thinking. There is a platform with 8 Stairmasters, so 8 players will be in the round being asked a total of 18 questions if they can last that long. Each time they get a question wrong, the Stairmaster will go up in speed. The pair that can answer the most correct questions between the two of them will win into power and win into safety. Now, before getting into each individual round, I do want to give some pros and cons about this season's trivia challenge. To start off with the positives, I like how creative and how thoughtful they were coming up with this trivia challenge. I think the Stairmasters were a good addition. I like that everybody could answer every single question. I like that they had a giant flat screen behind TJ to show the questions, so if somebody couldn't hear TJ, they could look up at the board at the question to answer, as well as they got to show everybody's answers once the question was done. This trivia challenge is so unique to this season, and I think it had some good positives behind it. Now, for the negative takeaways, is that it was multiple choice. The fun aspect of the trivia challenge when it comes to the audience's point of view are the wrong answers. We're having players being so high over water and being in that pressure situation to the point where they can't even spell their own name correctly is what we want. With multiple choice, you are unable to get those moments of Mahatma Gandhi is Muhammad Ali's real name, and is Dutch the official language of Australia? Again, I don't think that this challenge trivia is bad. I actually really like how they put it all together, but I just like it when you go one at a time and get the possibility of a really bad answer. Also, another minor critique for this trivia challenge is that I was hoping for at least some fun trivia questions sprinkled throughout, maybe some challenge trivia questions. I'm always wanting to see challenge trivia questions thrown in there, but the questions pretty much stayed very closely to like square root, math questions, Shakespeare characters, historical and geographical questions, which aren't bad, but it had a level of seriousness that I felt like we could have had a little bit more fun. Granted, this is multiple choice, but I just wanted a little bit more fun or a little bit more like challenge trivia thrown in there. Starting off, you have CT, America, Aneesa, Nany, Leo, Will, Turbo, and Adrian. CT was having a really difficult time on this Stairmaster. It was rocking back and forth with every step he took. He kept on grabbing at the machine to steady himself, to keep him on there, to keep his balance. CT didn't last more than a question during this trivia challenge, as he was disqualified from using the machine to assist him too much. So he jumped off, and that was kind of a red flag because Tay was going in a later round, and what if they had challenge trivia or US history or something to do with about the US? It was going to spell bad news for CT and Tay to possibly get last place. This first round was pretty tame, with the top point earners, with America, Leo, and Will all getting 3 correct answers. A few people got 2 correct, like Adrian, Turbo, and Nany. Then Aneesa was able to squeak by with at least 1 correct. In round 2, the main person that I want to highlight is Johnny, who also was having a difficult time on this Stairmaster. And at one point, she kind of knocked off the tablet off of the Stairmaster and it fell into the water, and she was just disqualified for ruining her tablet. At the end of the day, this does not help Nany and Gabe kind of connect or be able to trust one another or their performances. After Nany fell, Gabe also fell pretty quickly. He only got 1 correct. So there were a lot of brain busters in round 2 where you have Aviv getting 9 correct, Olivia getting 5 correct, then you had Jeremy and Derek getting 8 correct each, and I felt like Jeremy could have answered more correct questions to get even more points. But it was Jeremy and Michaela as the last 2 on their Stairmasters, and Jeremy looked over at Michaela asking if she wanted to get this win, and Michaela was like, yes, I want to get this win. So even though it felt like Jeremy could have went on to maybe get 1 more point, he decided that he was going to fall off. Michaela cashed in with 12 out of 18 correct. Michaela got the most points out of this by a single player, with Cedric going in the 3rd and final round. All Cedric had to do was get 6 points to lock in, because Aviv and Jeremy both went in round 2, and they were the top point getter at that point with 17. In the 3rd and final round, we had the nail in the coffin, with CT and Tay getting last place because Tay was having troubles not only answering the questions correctly, but also just staying balanced on the Stairmaster, as she too was getting a lot of warnings from TJ saying, hey, stop touching the machine, stop touching the computer, to the point where she had to jump off with answering 0 correct. CT and Tay got last place and was being sent directly into the elimination. Leroy was making me laugh with his stance on how he was trying to stay upright as well as trying to answer correctly. He was like hunched over. He kind of reminded me of like a wizard meets a grandpa kind of way that he was like standing over this thing. But shout out to Leroy for doing whatever he could to stay up there and answer as many correct as he could, as he got 4 correct. Sydney crushed this, answering all 18 questions, getting 11 correct. But it was Cedric who took the alley-oop from Michaela and dunked this win home, getting 6 answers correct, just getting 18 points, nudging out Aviv and Jeremy out of 1st place. That's right, Michaela and Cedric. After the number 1 draft pick, they were able to get this win together, and congratulations to them. Now, with the results of who won and who lost, everybody gets dressed up, heads down to the bar, where we see a conversation between CT and Tay on who they possibly want to say they want to go up against. Maybe people would be interested and maybe will vote their way if they throw out the right name. Both CT and Tay feel like they would be comfortable going up against Leroy and America, so they decide that they're going to spread that name around the house. But there are a lot of other people that have different ideas on who they want to target, like Olivia and Will, who agreed that they would like to vote for Derek and Dee. We had Dee throwing out Gabe and John A as the easy vote, where Michaela was like, yeah, but they'll always be there and be ready to be sent in. How about we go for Theo and Adrian, the 2-for-1 special? There was a lot of names in circulation, and I thought it would be very interesting when we come to the vote where everything will fall. But before we get to the voting ceremony, let's get to this week's drama, where at the bar, Aneesa is talking about she doesn't know where she sits in her own room with Nany, with Ashley. We heard in this episode that Ashley and Aneesa have not spoken to one another. They have not talked it out after their disagreement and their argument from last episode. Aneesa is a little taken back about Nany's actions and how she has not cut off her contact or her alliances or anything with Ashley after what had happened between Aneesa and Ashley. Aneesa is saying this to John A, and I'm sure that people were playing telephone all throughout the bar and all throughout the night, to the point where we get back to the challenge house. Aneesa is getting ready for bed. Nany and Aneesa have a conversation in the bathroom where Nany is like, what's up? How's it going? I thought we were cool, but I'm hearing word that maybe things aren't cool, and that's when Aneesa kind of lets it be known that, why are you still hanging out with Ashley after everything she said? You're still friends with her, you're still rocking with her in the game. And that's when Nany lets out all of her frustrations. She feels like it is unfair that she would have to choose between Aneesa and Ashley after Aneesa had basically turned her back from everybody that she rooms with to go hang out with Olivia and give her allegiance to Olivia. She feels like it's unfair that she should put her game in jeopardy by cutting off Ashley and not working with her just because of a disagreement between Ashley and Aneesa. It had nothing to do with Nany, as well as it's just infuriating to be in the middle of all of this. Voices are raised, and it ends with Nany saying, "I am too grown for this," as Aneesa packs up her bags and leaves the room to go room with Olivia and the downstairs alliance / closet alliance. I thought this was going to put a huge line down the middle of the house, that if Aneesa thought that it was going to be awkward when her and Ashley weren't talking, now add Nany into the mix. I thought that this was going to lead to a tension-filled second half of the game. However, while at the voting ceremony, Aneesa has a speech and apologizes for everything that happened that night. So it seems like it's water under the bridge. They've talked it out, and it seems like they'll be able to move forward. But as mentioned, we are at the voting ceremony, where TJ then lets everyone know that there is a twist in the game. That while at the voting ceremony, somebody can stand up and challenge another person one-on-one to where they will go compete to see if they can swap partners. The one person who challenged another person to the duel wins, then they will successfully swap partners and then get to the vote as normal. But if the person who challenged the other person loses, they will come back to the voting ceremony where that person and their original partner will be sent directly to the elimination, and it sounds like there would be no vote. This is a big twist, as there was a lot of talk about these permanent partners. Well, they're not so permanent, but this twist is big. It is high risk, high reward. High reward because then you can get the partner that you always wanted. Because of the risk being that you will be sent directly to the elimination, I don't know how much we will see of this twist being used in the season, unless people try to game the system and two people decide that they agree that they would like to swap partners. That would be an interesting situation, but a lot of people seem to like their partners, except for Gabe. It felt like they were really heavily foreshadowing that in a voting ceremony, at some point, Gabe will try to challenge somebody to get away from Johnny. Johnny and Gabe have been like on such different pages. We're just not gelling well with each other, and it just felt like there was a heavy foreshadow that Gabe might try to stake a claim in somebody else's partnership, and possibly maybe there could be a swap. It just feels like such a Hail Mary play at this point that I just don't know how much it'll be used. We'll just have to wait and see if and when it gets implemented in this season. Nobody takes TJ up on the offer to use it now, as I don't think anybody wants to possibly go into the elimination against CT and Tay, who combined for 3 elimination wins on the course of this season. So let's put a pin in that as we get to the votes. Now remember, CT and Tay had been throwing out Leroy and America's name. Well, nobody votes for Leroy and America. Instead, you have 1 vote for Aneesa and Jake, 2 votes for John A. and Gabe, 2 votes for Derek and Dee, and 5 votes for Theo and Adrian. So you have Theo and Adrian versus CT and Tay in this week's elimination called Busting Balls. One team member will be launching the balls, but they will be blindfolded, and the other player in the pair will be the aimer who has to give directions and hand the person the ball. Each pair has 15 targets. You're trying to knock down all 15 targets the quickest, or if you can't knock down all the targets, you have to knock out more targets than the other pair. This, by definition, is a carnival game, but this was the best elimination of the season thus far. This was so gripping. This was so nail-biting. You couldn't script this up any better, as CT and Tay got off to a very slow start, and Theo and Adrian were incredible. Teamwork, communication, they had everything going for them, getting off to a really strong lead. But CT and Tay were starting to creep up a little bit in the back half. Not only were they able to get so many targets, they were able to take the lead, getting a point with their final ball, getting a 1-point lead. Theo and Adrian needed 2 targets to lock in the win, and they only had like 4 or 3 balls. It came down to their final ball, as they were tied each 7-7, and on their final ball, Theo gives the final direction to aim the ball launcher. He hands Adrian the ball, and they were able to knock off the last target, winning 8-7. 8-7. I'm so happy it wasn't a landslide victory. It was so close. It was suspenseful. It was thrilling. I am sad to see both CT and Tay go. I felt like they were the underdogs. Yes, CT is a 5-time challenge champion, but so much of the house was against him, and Tay had to go into 2 eliminations and win 2 solo eliminations. I was just really rooting for them and wanted to see their teamwork and see Tay go farther into the game. So I feel like we were robbed of seeing this really enjoyable, charming pair get eliminated so early in the paired portion. So it is upsetting to see CT and Tay get eliminated, but Theo and Adrian did a fantastic job and deserve this victory. But it just feels as though that whichever pair won, they were going to be walking back into a house with a bigger target on their back. That the consolation prize of winning is going to be seeing more eliminations in the future, as Theo and Adrian are still looking like a 2-for-1 special, unless one of them decides that they're going to try to stake a claim in somebody else's partnership and maybe try to get out of this 2-for-1 special, that they are cornered being 2 UK players. Maybe they'll try to use some strategy and maybe split up. It just seems like Theo and Adrian have the partnership and the team communication and teamwork, but will they want to keep being tested by possibly being sent into more and more eliminations? I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see how that all plays out, but that is it for this week's episode of The Challenge Season 41 Vets and New Threats. What did you think about this episode? Please let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think about this season's trivia challenge? Did you like the multiple choice? Did you like the Stairmasters? What did you think about the whole setup? Let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think about this week's elimination? Are you sad to see CT and Tay be eliminated? What do you think about the twist of staking a claim and possibly somebody stealing a partner? Who do you think will try to steal a partner later on in the season? Or who do you think should steal a partner and try to go for this swap? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. I want to hear what you have to say, as this episode I feel is just the topsoil of what's to come later on this season. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen next week and the week after that. But now I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge 41 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.